What up, peoples? I'm Sdproduces, an audio engineer and producer out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, currently in service to B Sound Music. If you ever need any engineering needs, production needs, come see me. I'm easily findable, Sdproduces everywhere. And today I have some thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about how I got into it with a legendary producer and had some disagreements. I wouldn't say got into it. We had some disagreements. Had to unfollow him. He was talking mighty reckless in his chats. But we're talking about, for me, I would consider it mentorship, and I would consider it how you further an art form. To him, it was gatekeeping. To him, he doesn't see it as gatekeeping, but he sees it as how to keep the art of hip hop pure. And I don't agree, but we're going to be talking over a couple things today. I'm going to go to now. He released a list of rules. I've retyped them. I don't want to use a screenshot that I have, but these are the list of rules. 5 producer rules to live by. 5 producer rules to live by. So let's go over the first one. Never ask another producer what the sample is. Now, here's the thing. For sample clearance reasons, and especially with some of the older heads, because they weren't clearing samples, I could see why this was, and this is gonna come up again, but I could see that. But for me, like, as how I produce and how I co-produce, if a buddy of mine is flipping a sample, and you could see, like, I have records, right? One of my guys gave that record. He gave me the sample, that record. He gave me the record to sample. I've heard hot samples and asked another producer, hey, what sample is this? Because I hear I can do something different with it. And I think his is like, oh, you're going to do the same thing with it. Why would I remake the same beat? That doesn't make sense. If I'm asking what the sample is, I'm asking because I hear a different way it can be flipped. Now, if it's a collab piece, yeah, it might come out better because we have 2 different ways we want to flip it. But I don't see how this one works, especially, like, let's say if I have a young producer working with me, he's like, yo, this sample's cold, where'd you get it from? I'm gonna show him, because it's like, yeah, why would I make him struggle to look for it? And I get it, for legalese, some of the older heads did not clear samples, so you don't want to know where the sample came. Not telling you because you might snitch on me. That's rarely happens. Either now, I ID tag almost all the samples. Not ID tag. I Google search almost any loop packs to make sure they're not used, so I can either chop it up and still cite it because I don't want to be sued if I sold to a major, or if I'm gonna use it as a loop, I know it's gonna get flagged anyways. So, and also with Shazam and all the other things, it's so easy to find a sample. You don't have to tell me. But I don't agree with that one. The second one, never ask another producer what VSTs they use. This one doesn't make sense to me. This one wholly doesn't make sense to me, particularly in the modern era of beats. We all use the same VST. If it's not Nexus, it's Gladiator, or it's an emulator of an old VST. Hey, are you using the Juno VXT from the company, or are you using the Juno emulator? Are you using a Nexus emulator? Are you using a cracked version? I got into FL Studio because someone gave me a cracked version of their FL Studio. And I think that's also why I consider it like gatekeeping, because they're trying to hide what their sauce is. And I'm like, and I in that disagreement, I'm like, if your sauce is equipment and drums and samples, and it's not what you do with it, is it really the sauce? Is it like that one meme where it's like, this is just the juice, this isn't the sauce? Like, you don't got the sauce, you only have the juice. Like, because if it's so easily takeable, because I know a VST, usually most VSTs have hundreds of presets. And especially like FL Gang, everyone knows what Citrus sounds like. Until you start diving in Citrus, realizing you can change stuff and make your own sounds. But even outside of that, if the VST is your sauce, that you really ain't got it like that. Or at least that's what I think. Right? I share VSTs. I tell people exactly, hey, it's Nexus. I've made killer bass lines with Boo Bass in FL Studio, and someone's like, oh, that bass line sounds good. Now granted, is it the stock Boo Bass? No, I'm usually running it through Waves, cabinet, like, or guitar rig or something to make it sound like bigger and more lavish than it is. But once again, that's also the sauce. Is I know how to use my plugins. Like, I know how to make stuff sounds real. I think that would be my sauce. Like, I know how to make something that might not be real sound real because I know how to. But then even if that was, I don't care because I'm not worried about someone taking my sauce. If you take my sauce and do something great with it, I still have it. I can still do what I do. But this is also, at the end, I'll go toward why I think like mentoring is different. But let's hear the third rule. Never try to find a sample. Granted, I already said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna Shazam it. And if you don't want the sample to be known, chop it up. Don't make it a loop. Like, if it's a Roberta Flack sample, don't let me hear the first like couple of seconds of the singing. I'm gonna find it, or Google's gonna find it, or Shazam is gonna find it, or one of the other SoundHound is gonna find it. Like, one in modern era, that one doesn't even. But I get, like I said, for legalese, sure, but for just hiding your sauce just because you flipped it nice. But it's also a sound that's easily flippable, so it wasn't like your sauce was like. I give it to this. Like, Timbaland had a sound. One reason you could hear where Timbaland got a sample from and still not realize how he flipped it. Like, I saw a breakdown, and this person really doesn't like the breakdowns of how samples are being flipped, but also if you look at how Timbaland flips samples, that still doesn't make sense. Like, how he's manipulated sounds is like, yeah, no, what he was doing doesn't make sense for that time or era either. Like, he was ahead of the game so much, or his brain. It's more like his brain, how he flips samples, or like how Jay Dilla's drum timing was something only, yeah, we know how he did it, but it was something only he at that time knew how to do. And granted, that might have been his sauce that he wouldn't share, but it was a technique that only he knew really how to do at that time. Tim's drums and the programming and the rhythms are just kind of being played with now because they were so hard to crack and very unique. If we're talking about just a general hip hop sound, and that's your sauce, even if it's a lavish hip hop sound, I would say still not enough sauce, I guess, to keep your legacy of your sound safe. Like, Tim's sound is locked, even if it's just the 90s and early 2000s sound. Legendary. The Jay Dilla sound is legendary. The Pete Rock sound is legendary. The Primo sound is legendary. Jermaine Dupri, legendary. Dr. Dre, legendary. Like, but these were super unique sounds that could easily be emulated, but because what they did, like, you know, Dre's mixing because of his mixing, you know, his beats because of his mixing and how they sound and how lush they are. You know, a Swiss Beats beat because of how his drums are, but it's the rhythm, not the drums. Even though he did have an era where you knew what drums, like the hustler drums, but the hustler drums was getting ripped off. But that was also part of a pack. But we're gonna get into that though. We're gonna get into that one, right? We're gonna get into that. So, rule number 4: never ask another producer for the drums they're using. I give my drums away regularly. Besides one pack that my mentor was like, no, this is my personal pack, please don't give this away. He gave me a ton of drums when I first met him. And you know why? Because when he met me, he was like, I like your melody ideas. I like your chord progressions. You make lush string sounds. Your drums are terrible. And instead of making me go out in the world and find them, he just gave me like 10 gigs of drums and was like, go crazy, go through them, pick and choose what you want, except for one pack, which I still don't give that pack away. Like, I don't give that pack to anyone. I might give like a drum or two out, but that was his personal drums. And RIP Rob Torres, Top Rank, my mentor. In production, at least. I've had several mentors. I'm gonna get into that in another video. But Like, he wasn't afraid to give me everything. He wasn't afraid to give me all of his drums, the samples he used. Hey, here's how I pick samples. Hey, here's where I go to get the samples. I'll send you the link. I'll just email you the sample. Let's see how you flip it. And it's crazy because even with his drums, yeah, I can make a beat just like Top Rank, my mentor. But because my brain works different, I won't. There was times we flipped the same sample and came up with 2 different beats. There's ways that I EQ my drums that'll never sound like, because I don't like dirty drums. So I clean my drums up. So my drums won't even sound like his drums by the end of it. I'll eventually, the ring light's bothering me, but I'll eventually fix that. I need a diffuser. But yeah, I don't get this one either because it's like, I like to share. If someone needs some drums, who am I to be like, oh, the rules of production says I can't? That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense at all. And to the 5th one, never change what you're doing based off of what another producer is doing. Now this one, if you're biting, just straight biting, I can see that. But especially when I was young and learning production, because I didn't know, I bit Ninth Wonder. I tried to make Little John. I tried to make Timbo beats, all failures. But it showed me how to do a style that I liked. Like, what do you mean you're not influenced by what others are doing? That's music. Even if it's not making the same thing, like, I guarantee you Prince heard something Mike was doing and was like, I like that energy. I'm not gonna do what Mike's doing. I'm gonna make it mine. That's influence. Like, what do you mean you're not doing what someone else? I guarantee you this person heard what someone else is doing, and though didn't bite that style, was like, ooh, I wish I could make something like that. If you wanted to make something like somebody and in your own style, that's influence. The rule doesn't make sense to me anyways. Like, also though, you go through life being influenced. No one's 100% individual. And I'm like, nothing new is under the sun. Like, everything has been done in some way. Yeah, there's someone using a technique that maybe hasn't been done in a while, or maybe altered it in a certain way, but we're all influenced. I heard Little John and was like, man, I don't know what he's doing with that, but I want to do stuff like that. And I like a heavy smacking 808, but then how do you grow? Like, yeah, if you want to just dominate a certain sound and only want to do that, if you just want to do boom bap or just want to do trap, to each their own. I'm trying to master every sound. I'm trying to master trap. I'm trying to master boom bap. I'm trying to master EDM. I'm trying to master country if I have a chance, rock, anything I can get myself, which means I have to study other people and be influenced by them. Rick Rubin I am very influenced by Rick Rubin's methods of doing stuff. Not necessarily that I make rock, but I listen to his interviews. I hear how he talks about music. I'm heavily influenced by Tim. I'm heavily influenced by Just Blaze. I'm heavily influenced by Kanye. I'm heavily influenced by Dr. Dre. I've had eras where I've been dabbling in them, and they all make who I am as a producer now, which is so weird for this 5th rule of never let what someone else is doing influence what you're doing. We're all influenced what someone else is doing. If I get with a certain rapper and it's a trap rapper, I'm not gonna pitch him boom bap. Now I'm gonna pitch him some soul samples, yeah. But am I gonna throw a bunch of boom bap beats at him? No, that doesn't make sense. But I also didn't go get into music to only do one style. Like, I was studying jazz in college and wanted to do film scores, and then started making beats and fell into this, which is I'm fine with my career where it is. But if I was just like, well, I'm just gonna do this one thing and never change and never change and never change, it's like stagnation. I don't want to be stagnant. I want to grow. I want to see all the things that I can see, you know? Hold on. Something went haywire on the backside of this. Go back. Go. Okay. But, and once again, rules are still going. I'm not editing anything. You get what you get. You get what you get. But now let's look over these rules one more time. Also, like I said, some of this feels gatekeeping, but some of it feels like fear of your sauce is easily stealable. And you're trying to hide everything to make it stolen. VSTs. That means your sauce is the equipment. If your sauce is the equipment, you're not that great. You're not that great. You're good. You could be good, but you're not that great if your sauce is just the equipment. If your sauce is just the sample, great. You're great at finding samples. You're great at flipping the samples. But if your sauce is just a sample and not how your brain works, then your sauce can be stolen because your sauce was just the samples. Your sauce is just the drums. Was your sauce that great? Now, granted, Tim's drums was the sauce, but it was also his patterns and his rhythm and his bounce and how he flipped the sample. And also, he had an amazing set of engineers that knew how to put it together. Also, if your sauce ain't influenced by nothing else, that's how you get stagnation. And like I said, I don't want to be stagnant. Being stagnant in life is terrible. In your faith, in production, in career, it just leads to death. And some of these rules, I think, lead to death. Some of them will keep a art form pure, but it also died. If you lived by those rules, trap wouldn't be what it is, because trap was influenced by crunk. Crunk was influenced by Memphis. The Memphis style. I don't know what to call it, pre-crunk, but just the Memphis style. Like those people who made those genres, subgenres, will tell you they were influenced by other things. Horrorcore was influenced by death metal. Like, how do you go through life without being influenced by something else? I'm influenced by all the music I listened to before this: rock, hip hop, R&B, whatever. Like, some of these rules, like I think, it just seems like it leads to genre death. Because you can't share. And back to the mentoring thing, my mentors, every one of my mentors in everything I do gave me everything. Because they didn't want to hamper my growth because of my lack of knowledge. So they just gave it to me. Hey, you need new drums? Now, it's not like I don't know how to find drums. I know how to cut drums and EQ and build them and stack them. But my mentor was like, no, here's the drums. You can do all of that too, but here's everything you need. Like, he gave me a starter kit. And every time I come across someone who's getting new into this, I give them a starter kit. Hey, here's some ideas. Here's some techniques. Here's some things I learned. Hopefully you get further than I do, because I'm not afraid of someone taking my position. Like, if you do, whatever, it wasn't mine to keep anyways. Apparently I didn't have the sauce in it. But yeah, rules to live by, I don't follow these, except for sample snitching. Don't sample snitch. But other than that one. But yo, I'm Sdproduces. Like I said, an audio engineer out of Mark, Wisconsin, out of B Sound Studios. I am on everything. Sdproduces on everything. If you need an engineer, look me up. If you need a producer, look me up. Keep on a lookout. I'm trying to make these a regular thing. Editing light. I have a lot to do, but this has been a small rant. I still don't know what to name these. I think I had a name. I forgot it already. But like, comment, subscribe, share, do all of those things. But I am out till next time. Peace.